At that, the servant fell down, did him homage, and said, "Be patient with me, and I will pay you back in full." Moved with compassion, the master of that servant let him go and forgave him the loan. When that servant had left, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him a much smaller amount. He seized him and started to choke him, demanding, "Pay back what you owe." Falling to his knees, his fellow servant begged him, "Be patient with me, and I will pay you back." But he refused. Instead, he had him put in prison until he paid back the debt. Now, when his fellow servants saw what had happened, they were deeply disturbed and went to their master and reported the whole affair. His master summoned him and said to him, "You wicked servant, I forgave you your entire debt, but because you begged me to. Should you have not had pity on your fellow servant as I had pity on you?" Then in anger, his master handed him over to the torturers until he should pay back the whole debt. So will my heavenly Father do to you unless each of you forgives your brother from your heart. The gospel of the Lord. These glasses are getting expensive. They keep disappearing. It's another one down the hatch. Should you have not had pity on your fellow servant as I had had pity on you? You know, we all know from experience, it's not easy to forgive, right? And depending on how deeply we've been hurt, it's very difficult. And we've all heard the saying, to err is human, to forgive is divine. Forgiveness is a supernatural grace. It does not come natural. When we get hurt, what's the natural response? You're going to pay for this, right? Well, we have to understand it's already been paid for, right? That's what he did. He paid for it. But it's hard. And usually, if we're honest with ourselves, why forgiveness is so hard, I think for a couple reasons. Number one, I think we misunderstand what forgiveness means. It doesn't mean I condone what they did to me. It doesn't mean I have to even like them. It doesn't mean I have to be buddies with them. It just means I'm choosing to let go of the bitterness and anger and maybe even rage that I have in my heart. It just means I'm letting it go. I'm giving it to God. I'm not going to carry this anymore. That's all it means. But I think for some reason we think, there's that part of us like, it's pride. And it's pride. It's my own pride. No, I'm not letting go of this. This guy's going to pay for it. But who's really paying for it when you hang on to that anger? Right here. I don't know how many times I've seen praying with people where they received physical healings just by forgiving people they needed to forgive. I've seen arthritis, fibromyalgia, migraines, all kinds of bodily healings just by people choosing to humble themselves, because it takes humility and courage to forgive people. It just means I'm not going to hang on to this anger. I release it to you, Father in heaven, to you, Jesus. And a great prayer to pray for somebody who's hurt me is the same prayer Jesus prayed from the cross. He said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." So anytime I feel anger come up inside of me towards somebody, under my breath, I just say, "Father, I'm not going to go there, because right now I'm wanting to judge them. I'm wanting to hold on to stuff. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And forgive me, Father, for judging them and holding on to this bitterness. Forgive me for my pride and my stubbornness." So what happens when we forgive, that wound that's been inflicted on you, that pain that's been inflicted upon you is healed. So I had a woman several years ago her father was a Satanist. He was, I don't even have a word for him. He was demonic. And I'm not going to tell you what he did to her at night when she was little. It's from the pits of hell. Well, she's full of all this hatred, and rightfully so. I told her, you should feel everything you feel. You should hate with your whole being what your dad did to you. But her problem is she was hating him, right? We've heard the saying, love the sinner, hate the sin. We don't want to hate because that's not who we are. We are other Christ. We have been anointed in baptism, confirmation. That word anointed means you now are Christ. That's who you are. So Jesus is living out his whole life through us now. Now Jesus in us is getting pierced. He's getting beaten. He's getting persecuted. And Jesus in me wants to forgive them, but me doesn't want to do it. So there's this battle inside of me. I know I should forgive them, but no, I'm not. And so Jesus, we have to understand who we are. We are called. We've been baptized. We've been chosen to be Christ in this world, to forgive those who have hurt us, just as he's forgiven us. Look at the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass. In other words, I can only receive the mercy and the forgiveness of the Father and the healing that comes with it to the degree that I choose to let go of my anger and forgive. Mercy is God's greatest attribute. What makes us most like God is mercy. When we choose to be merciful, and that's a key word there, choose. Forgiveness is a choice. And I say that because a lot of times in working with people in the confessional or spiritual direction, they'll just say, Father, I'm just not there yet. I just don't feel it. I said, well, if you're waiting for the feeling, it ain't going to come. You have to choose it. Love is a choice. I have to choose. And it's hard not to love somebody when you're praying for them. Jesus says, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. In other words, be me. Be Jesus. Be true to yourself. Be the best version of yourself. And the best version of yourself is Jesus. That's the best version of him. And when we do this, we receive healing. And there's a sense of liberation. I remember there was a guy in Omaha here many years ago. Y'all probably remember. I can't remember his name now, but this serial killer in Omaha, I think he killed 2 or 3 people, young teenagers, mutilated them, brutal murders. And this gentleman, he's Catholic. It took him years to forgive this guy. But I remember him telling me this story. He said, I couldn't sleep at night. I was miserable because I had so much hatred in my heart toward this murderer. And then finally the Lord said, how long are you going to do this? How long are you going to hang on to that? And once he was able to choose to forgive this murderer, he was completely released. It's okay to say, I hate what he did, but we don't want to hate people. So who are those people in your life that you need to forgive? You know the hardest person to forgive? Right here, me. We're so hard on ourselves. I hear it in the confessional all the time. We're so hard on ourselves. Forgive yourself. God's forgiven you if you ask for forgiveness. Who are the other people you need to forgive? And this is going to sound funny, strange. Do you need to forgive God? Because I used to think, well, wait a minute, God doesn't sin. You only need to forgive people who sin. But once I learned what the word forgiveness means, if you look up the word and look at the root of it, forgiveness just means I'm releasing the anger I've been holding on to you. So, no, you're right. God has done nothing wrong to me. So sometimes I'll just say, God, I forgive you for allowing me to suffer. I forgive you for all the times you didn't answer my prayer and I was in so much pain. You didn't answer my prayers and you let me hang on that cross, right? It felt like you abandoned me. Father, I forgive. That means I'm choosing to let go of this anger I've been holding against you. That makes sense? So who is it you need to forgive? And if you're having difficulty, that's okay. Just tell the Lord that. Lord, I'm having a real hard time. Give me the grace to choose to do this. Just as you choose to forgive me every time I go to confession, every time I come to you and ask forgiveness, you choose to forgive me for all the times I've hurt you. Please stand.